Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Ask the Expert session that is dedicated to optimizing your workflow. So first, of course, let's double check that first you can hear me well and also that you can see my screen. If something seems not to work properly, then please let me know by either writing in the question box, or you can also alternatively raise your hand and let me know that you have some issue and I can also unmute you. So before we get started, I would like to first shortly tell you more about what Ask the Expert is. So our session is, of course, more interactive. So in case you have any questions during the session, feel free to raise your hand so I can unmute you and you can tell me more about your use case to ask me a question live so other users can also hear it. And then I could demonstrate an answer in my demo account. Or alternatively, if you prefer, you can use the question box in order to ask your question. So write it down and I will interrupt myself during the session and I'll answer the question. So, and also our session will approximately take 30 minutes. 15 minutes is more about the demo, and the rest is dedicated to answer your questions. So please prepare your questions. Maybe you have some team members around you who have some questions about today's topic. Okay, so today we're going to talk about optimizing your workflow. Namely, this is about custom workflow and dashboards and boards, basically where you could benefit from custom workflow. Custom workflow is a functionality that is available on business and enterprise plans. Also, if you're an admin, you can create them. If you're not an admin, you cannot create custom workflows, but as a user, you can use them. So I will show you how you can use them using boards and dashboards. All right. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Daria, and I'm a WRIKE product guru. And also on top of that, I'm a business coach. For about, getting closer to 2 years almost at WRIKE. Initially, I started as a support team member, which means that I've been answering all sorts of questions, starting from very technical, ending up having real consulting sessions. And now I'm doing my best to help our customers to successfully implement WRIKE, and of course, to help their teams to onboard successfully in WRIKE and use it in the most efficient and productive way for their own environment. So, what we are going to focus on today, how to set up custom workflows for different teams, and namely, if you are an admin, then this is applicable to your case. And of course, how to utilize WRIKE dashboards and boards for Kanban-like setup. This is more, of course, applicable for everybody who is using WRIKE, except, even collaborators. And before we move on, first, I would like to remind you of essential framework of WRIKE. Even judging from my own experience, I can tell that even the most advanced users sometimes they struggle to identify and to describe the difference between folder, project, and a task. So, just to remind you of these three main building blocks of WRIKE. Folder is your key container, the key structure where you keep all your tasks or team's tasks. It is your organizer, it could be your private organizer, and of course, color code for better visibility. Project is a type of a folder. It's the same container. You can identify it by this clipboard icon right next to it. You can set start and finish dates, have owner and statuses. And finally, a task, what we are going to actually talk about today. You can keep a track of changes using statuses, so that's why you're all here today. That's how you get your things done. And also, with a task, you always know who is in charge. And remember, a task is an actionable unit. So one task, one action, that you're supposed to mark as completed. Okay, now it's demo time. First, of course, we need to learn how to set up custom workflows. In order to do so, if you're an admin, right-click on your profile picture, upper right-hand corner, and from there, you will see Account Management tab. This is the kingdom of an admin in WRIKE. And from there, you can do so many things. But today, we will focus mainly on custom workflows. So here from the workflow button, let's take a look at the best practices that we gathered across our customers, how they are using statuses, what phases their team are using, through which steps each project needs to go through. So first, of course, each one of you has a default workflow. Then a default for WRIKE for marketers. This is our additional subscription. Next is SEO. That's something that I've created for my team in the demo account. Completion workflow, where I use percentages because it is hard to track the percentage manually, but I use statuses in order to achieve what I want. Review rounds workflow, approval workflow in case you require a specific one. Manufacturing development is a very specific use case because, of course, we have different type of industries using WRIKE, and perhaps this is something you could apply to your use case, where there are multiple phases, and as you can see, the amount of statuses doesn't have any limits. But of course, try to stick to the golden rule. Very often, 5 steps or 5 phases could be actually exist in a single or even 2 statuses maximum. So your key goal is to help yourself and your team to put a specific project into a specific phase. So it shouldn't be with 20 phases or statuses. I'm pretty sure you could sum it up into 5 categories. So here's analytics workflow that they are using. There is marketing creative workflow, which we see that there is new in progress, waiting for review, reviewed good to go, review changes required, delivered in template. So what are all these categories all about? By default, whenever you start creating a new workflow, you will have 2 default statuses, in the active group and in completed, because that's how WRIKE works. It must have at least 1 active status and completed. You won't be able to delete it, but you can change the color, you can change the name, let's say new arrival. And then you can add as many statuses as you need. You can, for example, I will call it the next step. And I will change the color. And I can easily drag and drop them. So once you have a set, you can figure out what is the right sequence of all the statuses. And if you're unhappy with some of them, you can easily delete them by simply clicking and remove the status. Completed. You can have as many rounds as you need. For example, it could be rejected, which actually usually used in an active group, because if it's rejected, it means it requires additional action. If it's completed, maybe it's delivered, maybe there are additional phases of completion, and you need to know what happened to the task. And deferred. Deferred group is often used for the tasks that you're planning to come back to, but right now they're not relevant to you. So you want them to be kind of in a sleeping mode, muted. That means that any task that is in a deferred status, it will not trigger any notification about any changes that were done to this task. Very often it is used for templates. Let's say you have a template with already assignees on tasks and you don't want them to receive any notifications just yet because the project hasn't been launched yet. So you put statuses into template, you duplicate your template folder or project or a task, and once you do that, it will pick automatically active status. I talk more about templates and request forms on our session about managing the high volumes of work, which we run not every Thursday, but bi-weekly, managing high volumes, where you can learn more about templates and how to use the status on templates. All right, so we are done with setting up our workflow. And now I would like to ask you who are on this session a few questions. Well, actually, it's one question. So I will launch poll. How often do you typically change the status of a task? So take your time. You can select multiple options. So how often do you change the status? Once a day, multiple times throughout the day, once every few days, or once in a week, once every few weeks, or you don't really know. Your answers would help me to understand what I should focus on. Perhaps it would be boards, Perhaps it will be dashboard. So feel free to take your time and select multiple options or just one question if you think, answer if that's more applicable to your case. All right, thank you. I see your answers are coming. Those who haven't responded yet, I would really appreciate if you could take just a second to answer the question in the poll pop-up that you have in front of you next to the GoToWebinar control panel. So far, I see the leading answer that is multiple times throughout the day, which is 75% of everybody who answered. Okay, now it's getting equal with once a day. Okay. If anybody else would like to answer, I still see that some attendees have not responded just yet. Okay, well, thank you very much for answering these questions. Just one question. Okay, so it's clear that we have both multiple times throughout the day and once a day. So that means that what we are going to talk about today is quite relevant to your use case. So I will go to my marketing. This is an example that I'm going to use today. If your case is multiple times throughout the day, most of you, most probably, have already learned about the board view in WRIKE. As you can see, once I've been switching between my folders, the view was changing. When I'm on marketing level, you see that I have the list here of my tasks. Once I switch to the banner ads request, I have board as a default view. Yesterday, I had a session determining the best work view in WRIKE, where I showed how to set default view of your tasks in WRIKE. Right-click on the folder that you mainly work with from, set default view, and you can see that board is highlighted, meaning that this is the view I have selected for my banner ads requests because that's I mainly work with. Now, I will hide my folder tree so it's more convenient for me to work with this view. So, what is the key benefit of using boards? First of all, let me go back to the folder. Custom workflow, you can apply to any folder at all. If I right-click on the banner ads request, I can change the workflow. And we see that it was inherited, and in WRIKE, everything gets inherited from the top down. We see that marketing creative workflow is inherited, and I see a small tip. It is inherited from the parent folder, and parent folder is marketing. So that's why marketing creative workflow and all its statuses will be default statuses on this level. And each status would have its column, and it would show me all tasks with this status sorted by columns. And remember, you can always filter them. Perhaps, since you need to change statuses throughout the day, why don't you change status by the end of your day? You have worked on multiple tasks. I will filter all tasks assigned by myself, and we can see that I have just one task right now. Well, that's not a problem. Let's pretend I have multiple. So I can play around, and let's say it's waiting for review, and by the end of the day, there are tasks that I have already reviewed, and they're fine to be moved. So I will simply drag and drop it into another column, and it will automatically switch the status. And this way, I can very quickly organize my tasks throughout the day. If, however, I need to see all statuses, perhaps I'm not an assignee, but there are some tasks that I need to review, I can always also filter overdue tasks. Right now, there are none, which is good. Or, for example, tasks that I need to do during these 7 days, or my team needs to do. So I will filter them accordingly, and I will see what's the progress, and I can easily move them accordingly. Perhaps I want to move some back to new because I did not have time to finish my work, so it will trigger my attention once I put it into new. Let's check the scenario if there are some specific statuses that are only relevant to you. For example, some are sending tasks to you for review, and this is a column that you need to use. So you can easily hide any of these columns in your board view and to only leave those that are relevant to your workflow. So you are reviewing these tasks, and once, for example, changes are required, I will put it into this column. And assignee, in current case this is Bill, he will see immediately that it's changes required. And you can directly work on a task from the board view. So that would save you tremendous time. It gives you much higher visibility, and it's convenient to view all phases that your tasks are currently in. If, however, you're using some other statuses, don't worry. You can always manage your workflows. You can choose which tasks you would like to see. Perhaps you want to see them from some other workflow, manufacturing development, if it is applied, if there are tasks with this status in this particular folder. But I will go back to the default workflow that is set on this folder, and that's my view. Do you have any questions about the board view, or perhaps you would like to share your use case? Then please raise your hand so I could unmute you and you could speak live and share it with other team members. Well, not team members, attendees, sorry, that are participating in the session. So feel free to ask me a question in the question box or by participating live in the session. All right. Then let's move on. So if board is very convenient for quick actions, or by the end of the day, you would like to reorganize your tasks, what is the advantage of dashboards? Dashboards is already, since it belongs to the monitoring panel, that means that it's key value in monitoring your tasks. So we see that I have a dedicated dashboard. It's for marketing team. Of course, it might be not the team that you're working on, but it's the easiest to demonstrate. So in marketing team, we can create any type of widgets. So for example, since we're getting our banner ads request through emails, through request forms, and here it's better to switch them between different columns on a daily basis. But on dashboards, we need some higher visibility for our team so they would track all new incoming requests and they could start working on them. So how could you use it? Click on your icon and create a widget. Let's say we only need to monitor new tasks that we have here, and we can also select active tasks by assignee. So I will click on that particular already set template. I will choose a user group of a, let's say, design team. That means that on this widget, I will see all tasks that are assigned to users that belong to the designers user group. I will select tasks from the creative workflow. So I have my folder creative. Actually, it's in marketing creative. So the more details I give in the search field, the more specific and more precise my result will be. And here I see the path to the folder from where I want to include my tasks. And then I select to sort them by date, or actually I could also select by status. I click on save, and now I get a widget. So what's the result here? We see that assignees, they're all designers. Status is all active and designers. However, let's think of, I see there's some overdues, and this is what I need to see. So I will change a widget that I have created. We see that by default, it includes tasks from subfolders as well. And let's say I only want to see tasks to do, let's say 7 days ahead, because I need to monitor our progress. I'll hit on save. And now we see each status for this week, for 7 days ahead. Well, actually, it's not even for this week, but it's exactly 7 days ahead. And we see which tasks in which progress. So that's one of the options how you can use it. So you will monitor all your new incoming jobs because we have set this widget only with new tasks. And let's say you also need to see some widgets with another status. Just like with boards, you can create, let's say, reviewed changes required. and include tasks from subfolders. Why is it important? Because when you include tasks from subfolders, and because I'm checking marketing creative, and creative folder has multiple subfolders. So I want to see all tasks that are from subfolders as well. And here we can see the preview of tasks, changes required. And I see a question. Why is the new widget set to later in the filter? Okay, thank you for your question. New widget set to later in the filter. I will go back to it just in a second. Okay, thank you for your question. So while I'm still creating a widget, and I named it changes required, right? Good. So now, how to change my status? I will show all workflows. I deselect all active statuses, and instead I will go into a specific workflow from where I need to pick statuses. So I can select multiple options, but I need to see all the tasks that review changes are required, because that means that we need to take an action on these statuses quickly. So now, okay, I see your question. Later, when we are talking about widgets, as you remember, I will take an example from the changes required. Okay, we see that there are categories: overdue, which are expendable, and today. Yeah. So why do we have these categories? Because once I click on Edit Widget, and when I go to the sorting, it is sorted by date. Whenever we select the sorting option, and right now it's by date, it will be split onto categories. Later, that is later than 2 weeks, or later than 30 days, depending on what category you would select. Overdue, today, next week, etc. So it would sort already by certain categories for you, so you can always collapse or expand a relevant category that you would like to check. The same would happen with importance. If I select importance, and if there are any tasks that are, for example, I would select from the marketing folder because I have more tasks there. And whenever I select from the marketing, and I would choose all active and save, we will see that there are different categories now. High importance, normal importance, and if I have any tasks of low importance, the category would be at the bottom. What is the importance of a task? Once you click on a task, you hover over its title, and you will see that there is an exclamation point. It helps you to prioritize your work in WRIKE. So right now, it has high importance, but overall, we have 3 levels of importance. And it's up to you whether you would like to use that or not, if it's convenient for you to prioritize your tasks. So depending on the options, that's how you can work on it. So that's one of the ways how you can use dashboards and also benefit from custom workflow, because you can easily prioritize and monitor the phase that, let's say, you're responsible of, or to track the progress of your tasks. And another huge advantage is that you can also easily drag and drop tasks between widgets. But I will go to my personal dashboard, and let's see that well, as we can see, I have my widget, my tasks, later, and my top 6. So these 2 widgets, they were created from folders. The only thing that they differ by is a folder. I have my top 6 and I have a later folder. Once I drag and drop from my top 6 to later, the only thing that is going to be changed is a destination folder. It's now residing in later folder. If I pull it back into my top 6, and they are sorted by priority, you see that the tag was changed. The same would happen to tasks if they have different statuses or there is something that they differ by, so they will apply new filters. So let's go ahead, and I will create an additional widget, custom widget in progress. So let's say I control who is going to work on what. So I will select in progress, select folder. It will be marketing, include tasks from subfolders, sort by date, and I want to see this would be a widget for in progress only. It can be empty in the beginning, just because you're going to work with this widget. So I will select in progress and save. Now there are a few, but I will drag and drop this widget in a convenient sequence for myself. I'll put designers over here. And in progress, I will put right under the new one. So it would belong to the same group. And let's say Marriott Summer Commercial. I will ask Anne to start working in it. I will put it into in progress. She will get a notification that actually the status has changed. And on top of that, I can also add mention her. I will say, Anne, please start working on it. So that's just a very simple use case of how you could easily switch a task status, a folder, or even assignee. So feel free to use your imagination to know which needs, requirements you have. What are your bottlenecks or what are your pain points and how dashboards could resolve them. And I do see a new question. Let me open it up. Is dragging tasks between widgets available on the mobile app? If not, is this feature being developed? Thank you for your question, Jessica. Would you please specify what OS are you using? Is it iPhone or is it Android? Okay, yeah, thank you for specifying that. Excuse me. Right now, I would need to double check if drag and drop is available, but from what I know, it is not really possible simply because when you open your app and whenever you start viewing your dashboards, it's rather hard to put them from one widget to another. But of course, your feedback is extremely important to us. And of course, that would be a little bit of a brainstorm for our team to think of. The best option, of course, from the mobile app is to on the go to change a status or a parameter that you need. And then, of course, it would jump to another widget as soon as a new filter was applied. Alternatively, I have good news for you that very soon, actually this week, if I'm not mistaken, or next one, we have a new webinar, live webinar. One is dedicated for all Android users and another one is for iPhone users. So feel free to register for one. Here is the WRIKE.com/webinar page, and you see deliver more on iOS and deliver more on Android. So yes, one is happening actually tomorrow, 18th of October. So feel free to register to that one or Android if you're a user, and those questions would be very relevant. So I will send the link for registration to our chat. So feel free to check every webinar that we have, and hopefully you will learn something new. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to share during today. And perhaps you do have some question about how to create specific widgets, or you're not sure how to solve a specific problem that you have inside of, in your team. So feel free to ask me the question. Another question, will they be recorded and available afterwards? Would you please specify what do you mean? Do you mean webinars about mobile apps, or are you talking about the Ask the Expert? All our webinars that we run not on a regular basis, but that happen once, yes. But nevertheless, please register, because to all the registrants, we are sending follow-up email, if I'm not mistaken, and for your notice, during 24 hours after the webinar has happened, it will appear in recorded trainings. So feel free to check our recorded trainings. You see all our past webinars that we had in the past. Feel free to watch them, to show them to your colleagues, and I'm pretty sure you will get a lot of new information, or just you will learn something more and deeper about WRIKE. So feel free to check them out. If you also would like to attend additional Ask the Expert session, then here is a category for all Ask the Expert. And On top of that, I highly advise you, well, actually, encourage you to fill in the questionnaire survey that you will get right after this session is over. And please leave your feedback. What topics would you like to be covered? Maybe a dedicated Ask the Expert session. Maybe you would like us to improve something during our Ask the Expert. Anything, I would be really happy to review all your suggestions. All right, another question. Can you go over the difference of using dashboards and my work? That is a great question. Actually, you'll be surprised that I have a dedicated session for that. It is called Monitoring Your Work. But, of course, I will answer this question. So, some users, of course, they may find the dashboards in my work, they're quite similar, but not really. Right now, this is my new work. Let me just go to Labs. And for those who don't know what is Labs, WRIKE.com/labs, it's a location where you can find all our new functionality features that are right now in testing. That means that they might have some bugs, small bugs, so don't worry. As you can see, there is inbox snooze feature that you can personalize and enable in your account. New timeline, this is something that we're actively working on, so feel free to check the box, refresh your workspace, and you will get this new feature. You can test it out, and if you didn't like it, disable it and send the feedback. Make sure to send the feedback. We do actively check it. And I will disable the new My Work update because I don't know if you are using the old My Work or new one. So My Work is half automated monitoring tool. Why is it half automated? First of all, the automation, where does it happen? You get all tasks that you have created, all tasks that you're an assignee of, and all tasks that are scheduled. So there are pretty self-explanatory sections. The one is today. Another one is this week. So all the tasks that are scheduled for this week, but they will also they will fall into today category because if it's from Monday to Friday, then of course today would fall into every day. And next week, and every task that is scheduled later than 2 weeks, it will fall into category later. And let me check the question. We have the professional version of WRIKE. That's really good to know. The limitation of the professional subscription of WRIKE is that you won't be able to use custom workflows. But as you might have noticed in my dashboards, whenever I switch to Darius Personal, I use folders as tags. So whenever you have, let's say, you have 3 main phases you need to go through, and statuses, it's not something that you would want to use because it is more customized. Create a folder, statuses. I will show you right here. Sorry from jumping away from my work and dashboards. And here you can see I have a dedicated location for tags. That's where whenever I have specific phases that I don't want to use as statuses, but I want my tasks to put them, I have phase 0973 and phase with other digits. All you need to do is create a widget only for this folder and for that. And by dragging and dropping tasks between widgets, you can easily change its tag. So, as you saw, my top 6 and later, those are 2 tags that I'm using. So you can easily customize your workspace by this workaround. And going back to my work. So my work, it already has all assigned tasks that are assigned to you. And where does the automation switch off? Whenever you start dragging and dropping tasks from one section to another, you are pinning them to another section. So if, for example, I pin it to this week by dragging and dropping, as you saw, now webinar, it belongs to this week category, and nothing will remove it from this section unless I would unpin it from my work entirely. Some users really love this method simply because it allows them to manually work on tasks and prioritize them. And let's check. If I schedule this task for today, we would expect that it would jump into today's section. But nope, it will still be pinned to this week category. So that's why my work, it could be the favorite tool for somebody, but for somebody not. In terms of a new one that we are likely to switch to sooner or later, let me show you. It has slightly different functionality. It already would have less of categories. It would have all incoming tasks, meaning that those are your new assignments. So you can see today, incoming. You can always expand the list, but what you can do is always to prioritize them. If you would like to put them into different categories, and unread ones would be always marked. And you can always move them to today or later by dragging and dropping or hiding it even from the list. So show less, you can create a new task directly from there, which would mean that it would be already assigned to you and scheduled for today, but you can also choose where you would like to pin it. You can also see all your tasks that you're working on or that you have created and created by you separately. Perhaps you're a manager and you want to see what's the progress of all the tasks that you have created. So that's pretty much it, the key difference between dashboards and my work. Feel free to test them out, to send your feedback, because WRIKE is relying on your feedback mainly, and that's why we are becoming better and better every time we want to have something new and something more a better feature. So do you have any other questions or something perhaps you would like to me to demonstrate in my account? So feel free to let me know live by raising a hand so I can unmute you, or use the question box just like some of you already did. What do you think the main benefits are of the My Work view versus dashboard? That is a good question. Thank you. That purely depends on your needs. Dashboard is a dynamic monitoring panel. So in dashboards, the key why I personally like dashboards is that it allows me to create custom widgets. Anything that I need to monitor. It could be my personal dashboard with my personalized categories. And today I have a section webinar increasing your productivity in WRIKE, where I show how to use dashboards using categories my top 6 later, and help yourself to always slightly organize your workspace in WRIKE. Also, dashboard is extremely useful whenever you need to monitor something important, something to always stay on top of. For example, clients' dashboard. It is shared with some important people, and here I can create a widget with all tasks that, for example, are overdue for Barclay. Let's say overdue Barclay, and Barclay is a client, and I have a folder for Barclay. So let me type it in. Include tasks from subfolders, and I only want to see tasks that are overdue, because it means that we have some bottlenecks, and I want my team to immediately start working on these tasks. And we see that there are a lot of, well, that's just some outdated information, so don't pay attention to it. And from here, I can see and monitor and track progress of all overdue tasks. And of course, play around. We have a lot of filters. You can select any filter that you need. It could be by status. So let's say you need to track the progress of your statuses, default workflow. Maybe you want to see all completed tasks that were completed, let's say, last modified date this week. So we would see some completed this week. Or perhaps you would like to see all active tasks that are assigned to specific users, to some individuals, for example. Or maybe you would like to see all tasks that are unassigned. That means that there are orphan tasks, nobody's taking care of them, and we need to assign them. So dashboards could be even used for that. So let's say I will be creating unassigned widget, include tasks from marketing, include tasks from subfolders, and only filter unassigned would be enabled, all active. That means that, oops, somebody is not taking care of them. Okay, I hit on save. And the next widget that I would create, let's say per 3 users. per 3 assignees, because this is something I would like to monitor on a daily basis. So that would be Anne with all active. That would be Anne. And I'll hit on save. And now the widget for her is created. I will hide overdue. I will hide later. And if I drag and drop the task into this widget, and now I need to find it. Well, it was not a review. Let's say later. It's also, the list is long. Okay, maybe that's not the best example, but okay, let's see for today. I will schedule this task for today just to demonstrate. Okay, so it's scheduled for today, and I would put it into her widget. And now, what does it mean? It means that this task is going to be assigned to Anne. So you can easily have multiple widgets per each assignee and drag and drop tasks, and this way you can assign them respectively. So I will put it into Anne's folder, and now feedback was assigned to her, but it will jump in an appropriate category. So following and checking all the filters that we have, or vice versa. Let me check if it could be done vice versa. Ideally, it should be possible. Yes, vice versa as well. So you can unassign as well. So it's up to your creativity, imagination, and going through the list of filters and checking all the categories. So maybe you will get an idea of what is the most important and crucial for your working processes, maybe tasks to do on a specific time frame, maybe reviews. Well, not in your case if you're a professional, then or maybe you're using proofing and approval set on. I don't really know. Task type, or maybe due date. You would like to check tasks that are due date, let's say for a specific time frame, or 30 days ahead, 7 days ahead, this week, last week, this month. It's up to you. Or by start date. So just check any filters, or even add more filters that are picked from the custom fields. Or completed date. Maybe you would like to check tasks that were completed this week, and then you would get the list. So it's up to you. Have an appropriate title, include tasks from specific folder, including tasks from subfolders. Pick the relevant filter, and you will get the results, and play around with dragging and dropping your tasks. Another question, what have clients who use my work more than dashboard said about why they prefer my work? That's an interesting question. It really depends because dashboard, it's more functional. It allows you more flexibility. It is more automated. You can play around. Well, you can organize them from widget to widget. However, my work is more personalized. It's more about tasks that you are working on. And of course, you can always pin tasks regardless of their category. While in widgets, they will always include tasks that are relevant for the specific widget, meaning that they have all the categories applied. So they are updated this week, they're unassigned, all active, or they correspond to those settings that I have set for a widget. While in my work, you can pin any task absolutely. So let's say you have an important task you are not an assignee of. So I'll go to creative, but there is a task that I want to take care of. Or for example, there is a person, intern or a new team member, and I need to help her. So my work, let's say this is something I use, and we see there is no pin. Once I click on pin, I can pin it to today. And now this completely irrelevant task, because I'm not an assignee of. And now I see that this task is now in today's section, meaning that it will always be in front of me and I can stay always on top of things. And once it's no longer relevant, I can easily remove it from my work by unpinning it, hiding from my to-do. So my work is mainly about manual organization of work, and dashboards, if it's more automated, it's customized, and it's dynamic. So it kind of saves more time when you already figured out your processes, your key criteria of what you need to monitor on your dashboards. And basically, knowing these two key differences, you can already make your decision. All right. Any other questions? I'm really happy to see how active you were. That's really great. That means that the session is going really well and actually corresponding to the key goal. And of course, just as a reminder, feel free to check other Ask the Expert sessions. In total, we have 8 of them. And if you pass all of them, I'm pretty sure you will be WRIKE expert. And of course, if you have more technical questions that you would like to ask, at the bottom of your WRIKE workspace, there is help and support. Feel free to go to community. This is our place where all WRIKers are communicating, or to help portal. And on top of that, today's session was recorded. I always record my sessions. So if you would like to get a recording, please let me know by leaving your feedback or in a question box anywhere, and I will make sure to provide you with a link to the recording. Allow me a few hours to convert the recording and to upload it to the cloud storage. All right. So knowing that that you can get a recording, here is the help center in case you have not attended it. Let's say you want to know more about iOS app, and there is an article. So from there, you can read all the specifications of iOS app, what it can do, what it cannot do, view dashboards, what you can do with the dashboards. And if you still have questions, feel free to open up a live chat with our support team, who is available 24/7 on many, many languages. So that's everything that I wanted to share with you today. I hope the session was useful. You learned something new, or you got a deeper knowledge of some functionality of WRIKE. And I hope to see you on our next Ask the Expert or some other webinars. So I see there are no more questions. So thank you very much. And feel free either after a webinar or during the webinar to leave in comments if you'd like to get a recording. So I will send it to you. Thank you very much and have a fantastic rest of the week. Be effective and productive with WRIKE. Bye.